So meaning what do I think is going to change often and so forth? I think the big thing that I see and that we see is that there's an opportunity because of global regulation that I think the Europeans started first with the creation of PSD2 and the idea of open banking that has basically said it should be possible for other people to have access to their own financial information. And in addition, it should be possible for non-banks to be created. And because of that, you've got this new global change that's happening where regulations are being created so that it's possible for other companies who want to be bank-like to offer services to their customers. For example, us at Uber, we got our e-money license in Europe through the Dutch regulators, and as a result, we are effectively a contributor to the financial services marketplace in Europe. And we're seeing basically a cut and paste of the PSD2 type of regulations going into Brazil and Mexico and other markets. We're seeing the Australians doing similar sorts of things. And this is just a huge opportunity for new types of companies to come in and look at a relatively constrained or a marketplace of previously closed access banks with a high order bit of regulation that are now able to be disrupted because new types of players can come in. I think if you're a big retail bank these days, the challenge that you most have to address is your cost base and how it is that you actually service your customers. So let's just, for example, say that a retail bank needs to charge $3.50 a month in maintenance fees to service that customer. Tech companies like us, we don't have that sort of cost base that we have to worry about. And so our need to do that fee just to operate the business isn't there. And I think if you're a retail bank, you need to think about how are you going to get those costs down into the tech level pricing, because we can offer the same kinds of services and we can innovate much faster. And the pace of change is so much quicker now than it's ever been. I've been doing banking for a long bloody time, since like '93. And the curve has gone really crazy. In '93, when we launched the first banking system based on Windows, everyone's like, you can't do that. You're supposed to use a mainframe. And we said, no, you can use Unix. And everyone changed their minds, and suddenly that was great. Now everything's moving into the cloud. And there's this amazing opportunity for banks to say, okay, we're going to embrace that and change everything about ourselves and embrace a new type of customer that wants services but not control. Because no one ever said, please bank, look after my money, but don't let me have access to it when I want it. I think it all comes back to actually talking to customers. And I think traditionally, financial institutions have said, we want to make products. And a product might be a credit card or a bank account or a savings account or whatever. And they forgot that there's actually a customer on the other side that needs those services. And so you end up with a whole bunch of customers that are disenfranchised and say, well, if the only products I've got are the ones you offer, that's cool. But what I really want is for you to treat me like a customer and build things that make a difference to me. And it's a paradigm shift. And some of the banks will get it and change their philosophy of how they think about engaging with their customers, and others won't. And the ones that don't will keep selling loans at 25% interest rates that nobody actually wants. I think the critical thing is to be capable and open to blowing yourself up. And that's the freedom that you need to give. If you're a bank or a financial institution and you've got a tech team, you've got to give them the freedom to actually go and build something special and unblock the constraints, the natural bias of the chief risk officer that says we can't do this and stuff like that, and let the teams build, because it's moving really fast. And if you don't, the tech companies and fintechs will come and just eat their lunch. I think LATAM is going through an amazing transformation. It's fantastic. It's amazing to watch. It's almost following the playbook of a lot of what happened in Southeast Asia with Grab and others that started in a certain marketplace and started to open super apps. It's a little bit like the transition that Ant Financial had coming out of Alibaba, and that behavioral play where the consumer's experience, especially for consumers that have never been banked, and there's tons of people in LATAM that have never been banked, they don't need to do it the old way. It's a lot like the change to mobile telephony. right? There are people that have never had a home phone. I haven't had a home phone since like 2007. But there are whole marketplaces where the only thing they've ever known was mobile. And that's amazing. And the same thing is happening in financial services, where there's a whole consumer segment that will never actually ever walk into a branch. Because why? I think this is great. I'm really grateful to have been invited, and I'm really excited to meet a whole bunch of folks that are changing the world. This is my DNA. I love building. I love meeting really interesting and dynamic people. And I think you've done a great job of pulling this together. I think it's really awesome.